The read from Republican Senator of North Dakota, John Hoeven. What do you think, Senator? What do you think of that the middle ground might be accepting a wall but not paying as much for it?
Well, look, we're working to get funding not only for a border barrier wall like you're talking about, as well as personnel and technology, and we need all three. And so the negotiations are going on right now. We're going back and forth. We'd like to get something done, as you said earlier, by Monday so we can get it done. A proposal to put to the floor on Monday so we can get it done by the end of the week.
So a number of senators have met with the president on this subject. I think Senator Shelby was one, sir, who said that the president was, very encouraged by the progress in the talks. And I don't know at the time whether this lower figure for the wall was mentioned or he passed that along to the president, or the president might have just been relieved that there's some funding there and he would support it. You have a sense of what he would do?
No, we're talking to the administration as well as obviously the leadership in both the House and Senate. So, I know where people are. I'm not going to go into specific numbers, but we can definitely do a deal, and the president's shown a willingness to compromise. We need leadership, particularly in the House, to do the same.
All right, so it's $2 billion and not $5.7 billion. Could you personally live with that?
Well, just remember, you said the number. I'm not going to go into a number yet. What we need is something we can pass through the Congress and that the president will accept.
All right. Could you live with that?
I can live with a number that can pass through the Congress and the president can accept, and that's the negotiation we're going through right now.
Fair enough and well answered. Senator, as far as setting the stage for future talks and agreements that the two sides can make, Democrats or Republicans, in the next 2 years, obviously many in your party, many in the other party, are anxious to move on to things in which they do find common ground, maybe like infrastructure, maybe like reining in drug prices. Do you think it's important to get this out of the way so you can do that?
Well, this is really important not only for border security and getting this deal done, but then we get the remaining 6 appropriation bills, which funds, everything out through the end of September. And there's a lot of things in those bills that have passed on a bipartisan basis. So that's a big first step. You're right. And then to move on to other priorities like infrastructure, reducing the cost of prescription drugs, and a number of other things that we should be able to do.
All right, Senator, thank you very much. Good catching up with you.
Thanks, Neil.
Nearly 2,000 Central Americans, they're settling near the Eagle Pass, Texas border, spending their 5th day in a temporary shelter. Federal and state officials in Mexico now say they won't allow those migrants to leave the shelter unless they have Mexican humanitarian visas. And lawmakers trying to reach a deal on border security, or at least meeting and pretending to do so, seem somewhat less optimistic than a few of them were just yesterday. That, according to a senior congressional source, the lawmakers reportedly looking at spending for the president $1.3 to $1.6 billion on the wall. That, of course, is an insult and far less than the $5.7 billion the president is demanding of what was an original $25 billion project. Joining us tonight is Mark Morgan, former U.S. Border Patrol chief. He served under President Obama. It is great to have you with us, Mark, and good to see you. This is first, let's go to the process that we're looking at now. Then that's this ridiculous conference committee made up, it seems, of Republican doves and Democratic hawks. That is on amnesty and on DACA. What do you expect to come of it, if anything?
Lou, I think you're right, and you've been talking about it. If you just look at the rhetoric that's just coming from the committee itself. I mean, after the first day that they met, a congresswoman on the committee actually got out there and said to the American people that there is no crisis along the southwest border. I mean, so when you hear stuff like that and you still hear the speaker and other Democrats say that the wall is immoral or it's not effective, and they continue that rhetoric, I don't have any hope that they're going to do what is in the best interest of the safety and security of this country. I don't have faith. And I'm not happy to be able to say that, but just look at the facts.
Yeah. And the facts indict both parties. This is no longer a partisan issue. This president, of course, is Republican, but his party is filled with some of the most ridiculous excuses for public servants. You're talking about this new era of denial on the part of these folks on the issue of border violence, a crisis at our border. How could anyone who pays any attention to the colossal human cost in this country as a result of the drugs that come across it, the illegal immigration, the continued exploitation of the poor and the impoverished and the uneducated in Central America, in Mexico. This is a blight on the history of this country and this hemisphere, frankly.
Well, Lou, and that's exactly right. And no matter how many facts are put before them, facts, not hyperbole, they just ignore it, like it doesn't exist. Yeah. And like some of the comments, like to abolish ICE, it's irresponsible, misinformed, and reckless. ICE, the last 2 years, right? 266,000 criminal arrests, 100,000 for assaults, 30,000 sexual assaults, over 4,000 homicides. They took 900 million pounds of narcotics off the street, more fentanyl to kill every American in the city. I mean, when you hear facts like this, and then you have people calling for the abolishment of ICE, it's just ridiculous.
Well, the left, the radical left, has become ridiculous. And the Republican right is inert when it comes to solutions. And the inability well, it's not an inability, it is the refusal of both parties, members of both parties, the entire Democratic Party and much of the Republican Party, to acknowledge the tragedy that is that border and the devastating toll and lost lives, 70,000 a year on drug overdoses alone. This president has said it's a crisis. It is a national emergency, whether he declares one or not. Should he act now?
Absolutely, and you're spot on with everything you just said. And again, what I like to say, this isn't the president's plan. I mean, he is the president and commander-in-chief putting that forward. But the plan really is the experts' plan, Lou. And this is what they've been saying. Right, absolutely. And again, in 2006, you know, bipartisan, they listened to the experts then. In 2013, the Senate listened to the experts and passed a bill which, if you remember, had $8 billion for a physical barrier then in 2013. And now they want to give 1.3. You're right when you said it's insulting. And it's absolutely, the president's got to stay the course. And I believe that he needs to use whatever constitutional legal authorities he has to do the right thing for this country.
Absolutely. And I have no doubt that he will. And I want to remind everyone, blood is on the hands of the Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, the Koch brothers, and Wall Street, who have all worked tirelessly and spent more money than on any other issue in this country to lobby for the exact result, which is amnesty and no impediment at all to illegal immigration across that border. Shame on them, and shame on them throughout. Mark Morgan, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Always good to see you.
And optimism of a deal that could be bipartisan in nature, who'd have thunk? Or are we overthinking it? To former Ohio Secretary of State, former Trump transition team member, Ken Blackwell. Ken, what do you think?
Hey, Neil, I think it's classic Trump in terms of negotiations. I thought he did an excellent job of framing the negotiations in his State of the Union address. He moved the framework from a discussion of his misdeeds, alleged misdeeds, and meanness, to an issue of law and order, or to a discussion about law and order, public safety, and a defense of capitalism. And at that moment, he in fact gained the upper hand in these negotiations. He can play the clock on this because he can legally build the wall with a national emergency. I think it will withstand the legal challenge. But if folks want a broader immigration reform package, then it is on them to negotiate. And I think he's in a good position now as he plays the clock over this weekend. There is going to be a gathering at Camp David. Some of the appropriators will be there. I am sure that while the conference committee is working tirelessly, they'll be discussing this, among other things, with the president this weekend. And I think we probably will get a deal. The president will get his wall which will be new wall, new physical barrier, and then we will also see more technology and more personnel.
Ken, I love you to death, but are you and I looking at the same proposed deal? Because it stands right now at about $4 billion less than the president wanted. It's a wall. You're getting that. I understand that, or some semblance thereof. But that's a long way down from what he wanted, right?
Well, no. Look, let me use two sports analogies, and let's use Muhammad Ali. The president went to a rope-a-dope strategy over the last 2 weeks. He just let the Democrats just bang.
They took it to the cleaners.
Look, no, they didn't, because he in fact repositioned at the point of the state of the union.
Great respect for him, but you got to admit, in the end, even Republicans are concerned. Mr. President, you went too far in this issue. No one wants a shutdown. He doesn't want to shut down. The Democrats don't want to shut down.
There's not going to be a shutdown. There's not going to be a shutdown.
No, let's be real here, though. I love you to death, though. Yeah, my head is bigger than yours. We always argue this. But I will tell you, he was major league hosed on that first deal, and he doesn't want it to happen again. And he'll settle for something that calls for funding of a wall or whatever. And if it's $4 billion less than he thought, so be it. But come on.
It's not going to be $4 billion less than he thought.
We'll see,
because
Mr.
actually, in the final analysis, he understands that when he broadened the ring on the Democrats at the State of the Union, he got back control of the battle. He's playing the clock. Right. He will get more than $1 billion worth of wall, but the Democrats, if they play it straight, will get more of what they want, to the chagrin of many of us on the right.
All right, we shall see. That's not exactly rope-a-dope.
That's the compromise. He went into rope-a-dope. He did it brilliantly.
All right. Well, you there in this interview just dance like a butterfly, but you stung a little like a bee. All right. Thank you very, very much, my friend. You're the best. Have a great weekend.
Good to be with you, brother.